Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Podcast Beyond.
Beyond!
I am your host for this week, Chris Roper, editor-in-chief of the IGN PlayStation team. And with us, as usual, but not always, I guess, is Greg Miller, editor on the PlayStation team.
What up?
And Jeff Haynes, also editor.
Hello, Governor.
And then as associate editor, ass editor, as we like to call him for short, Ryan Clements.
Yo.
Jeremy Dunham is out sick today, a.k.a. playing Ratchet and Clank. So he will not be with us today. But that doesn't mean that we don't have plenty of good things to talk about. So let's get it started. First, it sounds weird to introduce myself, but we have to kick things off with the Roper Report.
Time for some news.
Okay, so a couple interesting things have happened this past week. None of it major, really. But first off, fans of the series will be happy to know that Devil May Cry 4 is scheduled for sometime in February. There's no exact date yet, but at least Capcom is saying sometime, then. So very good. At the same event, Capcom also announced, Capcom had an event in London last week that, Jeff, you went to.
Yep.
And they announced a bunch of other games. Commando 3, Bionic Commando, Lost Planet is coming to PS3.
Dark Void.
You have anything quick to say about the event?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. The games that they announced were kind of surprising, especially to end the entire thing with that animated trailer, short teaser of Street Fighter 4, right, which nobody expected, and they completely kept under wraps. But what they showed, especially of DMC4, because we were begging them to have something new for it, was really cool. A lot of the stuff, especially the demonstration of the weapons like Pandora's Box, Lucifer, Gilgamesh, and some of the new things that Dante will be able to do. Very, very cool. And the actual demonstration of Bionic Commando, really, really tight. Like, that's one of those games that, for fans of that series, and I really consider myself to be a longtime fan of Bionic Commando, you're not really going to be disappointed with that one. It's going to be really nice.
Very good. Other things that happened last week in PlayStation Land were that although not too long ago it was announced that Ratchet and Clank went gold, but had moved back a week for release date. It was supposed to be October 23rd, moved back to the 30th. But everybody's happy now because it's apparently coming out tomorrow.
Yay!
They moved it back up, so Ratchet is now sooner than later. Maybe even today if some stores are selling it. Who knows? Because apparently they already have it. And finally, kind of announced at the very last second, in Japan, you can now download a Gran Turismo 5 Prologue demo. So it's a demo to a demo.
Wow!
That's
crazy.
There's 6 or 7 cars in it, just one track, but you can also try out Gran Turismo TV is in there, and so you can get a feel for the game, so that's pretty cool. So, did I miss anything? I think that was all that happened.
Our topic is news, isn't it?
Topic is news.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
The topic of this week's show that we're discussing in 2 seconds.
You're
trying to
insane.
give us a lead in.
You're getting a little crazy there.
You're right. I missed that one. The topic of today's podcast, Beyond, is...
Beyond?
Yes, Beyond. Is that, so as everybody knows by now, last week, Sony US finally made the 40-gig PlayStation 3 official. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. Whether... how well it's going to affect sales, whether it's going to make a big difference in sales for this year. Now that we're halfway through the holiday shopping season, and whether it catches the 360, and is it a good value? So Greg, what do you have to say about this?
I have mixed feelings all around. As many of the listeners know, I registered. I just got back from my wedding, everybody hi. But I registered for a PlayStation 3 and did not get one. So now I'm left in limbo. Do I want to keep moving the one I have at work back and forth all the time, or should I buy one? And last night I was thinking about everything, and I just don't know if I see myself buying a PlayStation 3 anytime soon. Because what I wanted to play on it, was SingStar, Uncharted, Metal Gear, all the big titles that are coming out. But SingStar's delayed, Uncharted I'm reviewing, so I get to play that here, no problem. And Metal Gear's next year anyway, so I don't see what's making me want to buy a PS3. Because now, I want to put that money towards a nicer TV.
Well, let's go at this from a more general standpoint. Do you think the $399
from not a completely personal take
is a good value?
Yeah. I mean, not yet. No, probably not yet. Because there's still that huge of what am I going to play on it when I buy it? You know what I mean? I was just talking to Mike at Database. He just bought a 20 gig for $270 used at EB off a bunch of trading credits, and he made the crack of, well, now I just need to find something to play on it. And it's like, well, there's Folklore, Warhawk, and Uncharted if you want to play Uncharted, or not Uncharted. I'm sorry, Heavenly Sword.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's still that big gap of people who are going to walk up to it, see it on the store shelf, and say, "All right," and then look at the games and be like, what do I really want to play on it?
Yeah. All right. So, in case anybody hasn't seen this yet, let's go over what's actually on the system. The system costs $399. It's coming out. What is that? November 2nd.
Yeah, it's right in the beginning of November.
Costs $399. It has 2 USB ports instead of 4. It still has Wi-Fi. Still uses Bluetooth, obviously. It does not have the memory card readers, and perhaps the biggest lacking to some people is backwards compatibility. Jeff, do you think that
with PlayStation 2, it still plays PlayStation 1?
Oh, it does.
Yeah,
really?
PlayStation 1, it'll play PlayStation 2 now.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
That's what Peter told me in that interview.
I think that's probably going to be one of the bigger things that some people are going to be looking at is the fact that there is no PS2 backwards compatibility, because not everybody necessarily got an original PlayStation. But considering that the crest for PS2 owners was really high, I mean, it's still like, 115 million and counting or something like that? I mean, there's still a ton of people that probably have their catalog of PS2 games that are going to be interested, especially because of the whole backwards compatibility thing that Microsoft f***ed up, that it's like, hey, we really want to get this whole thing of, hey, we want to play the games that we invested on. So if there's this whole situation that they want, what?
We're not allowed to curse anymore.
Yeah, you can't curse anymore.
Christ.
The man, aka iTunes, is coming down on us.
Okay, well then I'll try and clean it up. I don't know how well my Tourette's will go. But considering that everybody that invested in a PS2 and probably has like a good 5, 10, 15, 20 games or more, like wants to throw down a good $400 or $500 on a PS3, all of a sudden that's all invalidated. So they have to stay with their old Slim, or if they have a Fat, and play like those old PS2 games and then migrate over at some other point. It seems kind of like disregard to the consumer, especially with this whole push of we're going to be the system with backwards compatibility.
I was in this camp too in the beginning when I heard it. I was like, that's a dumb decision. Everybody means it. But then I did the interview with Peter that we had up on Friday, correct? Mm-hmm. Right, that was Friday. And one of those days last week. And he was saying that we're still going to keep investing in the PS2. So, I mean, the answer is just don't get rid of your PS2. And, I mean, at first I was, that's kind of dumb. Why would I want, But then again, I mean, how much trading credit would I get for Slim nowadays? You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I don't think it's necessarily a situation of trading credit as much as it is like, personally for me, I've got dozens of PS2 games, and that's because I bought a PS2 when it first came out. So if I happen to have invested that much time and that much money in games, especially ones that like I still want to play, for instance, if people bought Final Fantasy 12 and they went, they've read some of the things about being able to smooth out some of the edges or do some of the other things, or just the fact that they don't want to reconnect an old PS2 if they buy a PS3, which is like a lot larger than a Slim is. All of a sudden they have to then dig out their PS2 from the closet if they want to play like an old game. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I understand like, hey, just keep that PS2 around just in case, but it still is, really dismaying.
It's inconvenient, but
it's inconvenient. It's also dismaying to have like a company make this huge selling point about we're going to be the company that you can play 10 plus years of our games on. Then all of a sudden they go, except for this one.
Well, you still can just give it another $100.
Well, yeah, and then it's just like how many people are going to feel that they're getting squeezed for extra money because they have to have the backwards compatibility if they go up like 40 gigs and in a different package.
But now here's the thing, though, is when the Xbox 360 first launched, people were complaining that there was like 100 Xbox games supported, and it's a couple hundred now, but it's it's a small percentage of the overall games that were released for the Xbox, and nobody's really caring about that anymore and talking about backwards compatibility. Do you think that?
How many great games are on the Xbox?
I think part of the thing with the initial Xbox backwards compatibility is that you had a lot of games that people didn't necessarily care about that they were just throwing out. I mean, like you had Barbie's Horse Adventure over Psychonauts. What the hell is up with that? I mean, if you've got crap games getting backwards compatibility over, ones that people really want to play, then you've got a skewed backwards compatibility mindset. And I think that's one of the things that Microsoft got dinged for. Obviously, after a while, like people are not going to be that high up on backwards compatibility, especially if they haven't bought all those old games.
But when you make that initial jump, and there are no good games on the system.
Well, exactly. That's where you start going going like, hey, I still have like, Final Fantasy. I've got, I've got Black, I've got Burnout, I've got whatever. Like you've got all these games that you have in your catalog that you could throw into that, and then all of a sudden they release something, you think that you could do that, and it comes out that you actually can't. That kind of sucks.
Well, I mean, even that, how much do you think that this gap now between 40 and 60, how much do you think the 40 will spur you to buy 60? Because, I mean, I was doing the interview, and I'm like, you know what, he'd make a lot of good points. I'm like, that's not that much money. And then I was like, well, I'm going to get there. I could, if I'm already putting down this much money, why not throw down an extra 100 and get the 20 gigs in a backwards compatibility?
The thing that
I see a lot of people that happening.
Yeah, the one thing that I do wonder about is what the possible return will be on the 40 gig, because I have a feeling that some people might not necessarily pay that much attention. They'll go in, especially with the price cut, they'll buy it thinking, oh yeah, I can throw this in, find out that they can't and that they had to spend an extra 100. They'll return the $399 one possibly, and then maybe, depending upon where they are, if they're not feeling too burned, maybe they'll go up and get the extra one that has backwards compatibility. Otherwise, they could be cutting out some people in their fan base. I'm not saying that it's going to happen. I'm not saying that that's the way that people are going to perceive it, but it could happen.
But even in that vein, I would have to imagine if somebody walks into the store to buy a PS3 and doesn't realize that there's no backwards compatibility, they're not that big of a fan. So it's not like they're going to get home and try to crank out some, I can't wait to play Oni again. This is awesome. Like, what? I don't know backwards compatibility. I mean, it's one of those things where,
Bungie be damned.
At best, I mean, they're going to buy it, go home, and try to put in Guitar Hero, and be like, what up?
Yeah.
Well, Guitar Hero anyway.
Exactly. That's the thing. That's what I was thinking about. I'm like, well, what would I still want to play on the PS2? I'm like, well, I got this guitar that I can't plug into the PS3.
Ryan, what are your comments on this?
I also have mixed feelings about that. I just want to confirm something though. Did they completely roll out the 80 gig as opposed to the 60? What's going on with that?
No, the 80 gig available.
Yeah, so the 60's been phased out.
It's the 80 because Greg, I thought you said
20.
60.
No, you're right, I did.
But did you?
So, anyways, now I walk up to the thing and I say, do I want to throw down an extra 100 for an extra 40 gigabytes in the backwards compatibility?
So that is what you meant, though,
yeah,
right?
no, you're right. 100%.
I'm not confused.
Yeah, so
okay,
you're right. That'll definitely influence the jump, I think, even more.
Yeah, the backwards compatibility is definitely an issue for me just because I do have a bunch of old PS1 and PS2 games, and I think that is a cool thing. I'm glad that I have an old 60 gig that can still do that. I think that people need to look at it like this when comparing it to the 360, which is kind of like its most direct competitor. I mean, taking aside the fact that the Wii is doing very well, I'm talking more about what the PS3 and the 360 are trying to do as systems. So I think that with the PS3, it's $399. And it has basically everything you need in the box. Whereas I still say that the 360, which is $50 less for the premium, is that what it's called? Right?
It's just called the 360.
Anyway, whatever their main unit is, the 360, great system, but like you have to, in order to get the online with Wi-Fi, because I don't have wires going through my house, you need to buy a $100 adapter. And then if you want to watch HD movies, you need to buy a $100 HD player.
Not to mention Xbox Live.
Exactly,
if you want
for
to buy
$50.
that.
So that's almost like $200 more now. So that was originally my argument for why the 360 and the PS3 were at about the same price if you wanted to completely use the functionality of both systems.
That wasn't just your argument. That was the same one that a lot of people from Sony were putting out at launch. Was the added up price for the 360 version.
So now
Microsoft was like, well, we have games you want to play.
Yeah, so whereas I still think, the 360 does have a fantastic lineup. You are saving a bit of money if you are going to use that functionality. If you want to watch Blu-ray movies, if you have a wireless network, and it would be inconvenient for you to buy the adapter. So there's mixed feelings.
Now, speaking of that, that actually might be one of the things that it could spur would be an additional race for Blu-ray movies, because now that the system itself, now obviously you can play games on it, but considering that you can't get a Blu-ray player, as far as I know right now, for anywhere close to about $400, if you have people that are really, really into high-def movies and they want to have that movie experience, that actually could help spur movie sales, because, as opposed to spending like the $500, $600 for a Blu-ray player, now you can spend the $400, know that you have something that can play movies, and if you want, whenever the games do come, you have that as an option too.
Yeah, I mean the PS3 is a great Blu-ray player. Once you spend $25 or whatever it is for the remote, then it's the perfect Blu-ray player, and the DVD upscaling is great on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. Now, what do you guys think about? How is Sony doing this holiday season now that we're halfway through the sales? Are there any games that are must-have that would make you run out and say, okay, I wasn't going to spend $500, but now I'll spend $400. Like, do you think Uncharted and Ratchet is going to be that? And has anything come out? Because I don't think anything's come out.
No, it's rough, right? I don't think you're going to see this thing have an impact until first quarter next year. When you get Metal Gear, when Little Big Planet, when there's games that people... I mean, I'll buy one then for sure, just because I won't want to truck this thing back and forth every night. And I mean... you guys have played the updated Uncharted, right?
Right.
I'm reviewing it, but I haven't played the new build. I've only played the one that we've seen at Gamers Day, E3, Germany, all that stuff. But I know friends in the industry I've talked to, there was one who horribly, anti-PS3, didn't like it at all, thinks it's ugly, and she walked away from playing this in-depth version, walked away and was like, I might buy a PS3 now, just from that bit of Uncharted. I don't know how much that's going to cross over for everyone, and then even if it was, I still think you're going to see, well, maybe they'll drop the price again by the time Metal Gear comes out and Little Big Planet, I can pick it up then.
See, I don't know if they're actually going to drop the price as much as I could actually see them doing like different bundles depending upon what the title is.
Totally.
Because I think that they know that there are certain games coming out that are going to be the huge system sellers.
Yeah, I mean, Microsoft is running a bundle right now. You get Forza and something else with it.
Exactly. So I think that that's possibly going to be one of the things. Even though that like you've got titles that aren't going to be Sony first party ones, obviously like Killzone will be, which is going to be a system seller by itself. If you have something like an MGS4 or a DMC4, things that obviously will take advantage of the system and what it can do, I don't think that you won't find that Sony won't do a bundle package of those along with the DualShock 3. Maybe it'll be at the same price that you would expect, like a $599 or a $699, but the fact that they're packaging in all this stuff and going, hey, this is what the power of the PS3 can do. Until then, though, I don't think that you're going to find it this holiday season. I mean, the games that are coming out are going to be good, but they're not going to be the ones that are going to make people run out and go, I have to have this. It's not going to be there.
Now, here's another question, though, is everybody knows now it's been announced that the DualShock 3 is coming, and it's coming out on November 11th in Japan, but we're not getting it until the spring in the U.S.
Yeah.
And so, right now, all those consoles come with a 6-axis. And so if anybody that has the console already or buys one soon is going to have to run out to the store to pick up a DualShock 3 if you want to get that. So that means that come spring here in the U.S., you're going to have... I don't know if they're going to replace the systems and just have it all of a sudden the DualShock 3 inside the box, but it sort of seems...
Well, they're not doing that in Japan. So, I mean, they're launching on the same day. They're 40 gig.
But eventually they've got to start doing that.
Yeah, you'd hope.
Well, yeah, it's going to get into the supply system.
Another revision of the heart. Like, this is, the fourth one now?
At least.
Not even a year.
At least.
Not even a year. And now you're talking there's going to be like a fifth repackaging, maybe a sixth, that there's still 2 SKUs. I mean, you've had the 20, 40, 60, and 80 gig drives.
Yeah.
And...
aside from the fact that you can rip the drive out and put in a new one anyway.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like basically... from what it seems like to me, is that the drive size is basically just a way to help the very 5-point customers that walk into the store and say, "Why should I get this, and this?" You say, "Okay, it has a bigger hard drive." Everybody else knows you can replace it if you're downloading movies all the time or whatever else. You can just go and swap out another hard drive for it. So the big system seller or the big thing between the systems is, does it have Wi-Fi? Is there backwards compatibility? Is there all that kind of stuff on there? Do you want memory card readers, et cetera, et cetera? And so the hard drive thing is just sort of the easy way to differentiate the systems. But and then now you've got DualShock 3 coming though, and that's another layer on top of all this stuff. And I don't know, it's kind of a confusing mess of
that makes it really hard for little Timmy to tell his mom he wants this and her to go in there and get it, or even just you figure PlayStation 2 is such a huge success because people like me and Jeff, or probably everybody in the room, early adopters who bought it on launch day, brought it home, brought it to college dorms, and everybody else that's really cool. They went out with that impression, I'm going to get that. Now you see somebody's PS3 and they're like, well, this is I don't have the chrome finish on it. This is still a 20. Right. This isn't even in service anymore.
Yeah, I mean, but you got a good point because it almost turns into like buying a car because you're just do I have the chrome finish or the walnut finish? Do I have this feature? You're sitting there and it's like remember, I think it was earlier this year, Sony said something about we're not going to do this. We're not going to constantly break out multiple SKUs to confuse the consumer base. All of a sudden, we've got basically 5 freaking SKUs, and it's like, how many times do we have to just go, look, PS3? That's it. I mean, even Microsoft with their 360, they phased out the core.
Yeah.
So the premium is essentially the baseline, and then they just recently introduced the arcade. So you've got the HDMI version, which is only for the Elite, and usually tied in with Halo. And then you've got the basic premium, and then now there's the arcade, which doesn't even have a hard drive. So it's you're not really getting an arcade feature because you need that for Xbox Live.
Yeah, you can't use
so how many times are these companies really really going to confuse the consumer base with all the crap that they're throwing out,
the thing is,
trying to squeeze money out of them.
How many sales do you think they're losing also, where somebody goes in and doesn't really know about the system at all, and is maybe trying to think about picking up for their kid for their birthday or whatever, and says, tell me about the PS3, and then the guy behind the counter is like, well, you can get this one as this and this and this, or this one has this and this, but you're going to want to get this, and then she's like, well, screw it, that's way too confusing.
Yeah.
And that's probably why
I'll buy him a book.
On something
no, it's not all buy a book, it's all buy a Wii.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
all of them are like, well, there's just a Wii. But they'll
put
put
their name
down.
for a Wii.
Exactly, because they know that there's only one Wii, and that's it.
As much hell as we're giving Sony and everybody else for doing this, I do appreciate and applaud the fact that Sony at least came out and said this one, well, we're doing it because price is an issue for people. I mean, they're responding to the criticism that, hey, your system costs too much, we're not going to buy it.
$399 is low enough.
No. I would rather them see, I mean, if somehow this is all tied into gigabytes, I would rather see them use, they have to have a stockpile of 20s somewhere, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I'd rather see it drop down another 50 or $100, release the 20, and I don't know, they're just getting it more and more confusing by dropping things, adding them, taking,
I don't know. I think 400 is just fine, because especially since the 360, which everybody is totally fine with, is only $50
but the
less.
360 has such a lead on it, and when PS3 came out, everybody's like, well, we have to give them time and see if they can do this. 360 is pulling away.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we keep pushing games back on Sony, and it just keeps getting more and more crap from everybody. Sorry, Greg. I've been off for 2 weeks.
I messed it up once, and I didn't.
Anyways, are we just gonna have huge bleeps in there?
Well, yeah. I'm gonna be bleeping.
Roper's
right, cool.
recording the time.
Nice. That's awesome. But anyways, it's pulling away. Like it's got. I mean, the online interface, the games. It's making people like 360 more, and that's just all there is to it.
I kind of agree with Greg. I mean, I think that part of the thing is that the timing is possibly going to be like a bad situation because obviously they're trying to push it out for the holiday season so that it's just as competitive as everybody else. But the biggest problem is obviously when we start to lose the backwards compatibility, you don't have these games that are obviously going to push people to go and get it. Then it's just kind of a keeping up with the Joneses kind of situation where people are just throwing it out there to try and make it seem like it's a great thing, but until you have that game, that system seller, that's going to make people go, okay, if I already have this, that's going to be the game to show off. But if I don't have it, that's going to be the game that's going to make me go out and get it. And as much as we love Ratchet, much as we've been impressed by Uncharted, not coming this holiday season. I mean, all the other ones that are there are either ports or like multi-console ports,
which are always way shoddier on PS3. They don't have the functionality. Yeah. They don't have the Xbox Live. They don't have the friends list.
They don't have the achievements.
They don't have the frame rate.
Yeah,
hi EA.
They don't have the achievements. And the thing is like some of the online capabilities are still shoddy. And I think that part of it is because a lot of it's still being tied into home and that home functionality, which again. Push back. So, I mean, what exactly are you going to do? It's almost like marketing's trying to figure out one way of solving the problem without actually talking to everybody else in R&D or PR or everything else to try and figure out how to best sell the system.
All right, so let's wrap this up. Greg, what do you think that Sony's 6-month plan should be?
They should do it like when Star Wars got really big. Remember? Well, obviously we don't remember. I don't remember. Me and Ryan don't remember. We were super young. You guys are old. I don't know. But
you whippersnapper.
Star Wars comes out. It's huge. They didn't expect it. Kenner couldn't produce the toys fast enough. Remember? What they did is they sold the basically rain check. Here's what you do. Sony should have put out a bundle at maybe this price with, hey, Metal Gear thing or something like that. They should have done something crazy. Something that you would have been like, you walk in the store and like, well, I have to get it now. And said, hey, limited time offer, only through January 1 will you be able to buy this game and get these 2 rain checks for Metal Gear and Little Big Planet. Something crazy. I mean, I know that's Little Big Planet since it's first party and a DualShock 3.
As long as they can
something insane where you seriously couldn't sit here and go, well, I'm going to wait and see what happens down the road. There's no longevity to this plan. There's no deadline. There's nothing to make me say I have to buy it at Christmas, and that's what numbers they're going to go off of, and that's where they're going to get trounced by everybody.
Mm-hmm. Ryan, what do you think?
I say they just stick to the SKUs that they have now. They don't mess around with anything else. And then they just start going crazy on advertising for probably Little Big Planet and Metal Gear. Those are my I think, the biggest ones that are going to come out. So,
Jeff?
Just as a quick side note, like I like your voucher idea. The only problem is like they haven't even been able to fulfill the 5 free movie Blu-ray thing from the summer with that first price cut. So if they can't fulfill that, I'm not holding my breath that they can do it with anything else. But what I think that they really should have done is try to like throw as much money, resources, or whatever to some team and get one of those AAA titles out of the door on date or by this holiday season and gone, this is why you need to have it, and hey, new price. And if they wanted to do it, then they could actually do a bundle and go, you know what, DMC4 comes out December 15th. You can get it with this bundle. It's going to be $50 more, but you're already getting the game, and maybe they'd actually include a Dualshock just as a mess, as something just to go, nobody else is going to have this. If you want it for any other time, and then you can get it that way. But if they would have needed
something crazy.
Yeah, they would have needed something crazy, but they would have also needed something that would have been AAA that would have actually shown off the power of the system. Just hacking it down, unless there's like some massive Blu-ray movie or some huge thing that you can't find anywhere else, which they don't have this holiday season, you're not going to get the same response.
Here's what I think. This is kind of a dick move to the consumers, but still, I think they should have just gotten rid of basically all the SKUs and just had one. Say it's the 40 gig system or whatever. Gotten rid of the 80, gotten rid of the 20. You just have one system, Wi-Fi, 2 USB ports, whatever. So there's no confusion there. And if there was no backwards compatibility, say, okay, fine, the system going forward is not going to have any backwards compatibility. Get it while you can. Then all of a sudden you have all these consumers running out saying, oh, I want to be able to play my PS2 games. I need to buy it immediately. Then you get those huge sales from people that want to get that in there.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, behind the curtain, Sony's pulling Wizard of Oz and is working on software backwards compatibility so that 6 months, a year down the line, they can say, here, this update to 2.0 or whatever it does brings backwards compatibility. Meanwhile, people that bought their system hopefully will be happy with it at that point because they already had Metal Gear and all this other kind of stuff. And then the people that had bought it and didn't have backwards compatibility now have it in the future. And then I think one of the things is going back to just one SKU because a lot of it's too confusing, and they got to just let the system ride on the name PlayStation 3 alone and not have to say PlayStation 3 20 gig, PlayStation 3 80 gig, whatever. That's all way too confusing.
Yeah, and they'd also have to do something to at least make the people that bought during these earlier times not feel like they were burned for going out and spending that much more for a system like that. Because a lot of people, especially with the price cut this summer, a lot of early adopters are the people that were in that first 9 months or whatever were so pissed because all of a sudden they could have saved $100 or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have to. Oh, okay.
Wait, go ahead. One last point.
I was just going to say they need to do something with their network because as some people know, I just got a 360 like a little while ago, and after experiencing what Live does, it's just like,
night and day.
It's so much. It's like 100 times better.
You don't like having the little word bubble about your user icon, the cross media bar. Oh God.
Yeah. Anyway,
trounced.
Right. Let's
come on, Sony.
Yeah. So that's what. So Sony needs to fix something and
fuck it out.
Well, I mean, it's too late. They've lost this holiday.
Yeah.
You heard it here. Scoop. Beyond Scoop.
Beyond Scoop.
Be Yizzle.
All right, let's move on to some reader mail.
Reader mail.
Mail call.
All right, first, David Dole. David Dole.
Yeah.
Dole.
Yeah, Dole. Like Bob Dole. Yeah.
Wants to know what's going on with SOCOM Confrontation, when we'll hear more about it. Are there any media events to show more on the game? The answer is what's going on with Confrontation is Sony hasn't made any official announcements anytime recently. Of course, there's nothing official, but you can kind of guess what that means. We're already almost in November, so you can figure out whether it's coming out this year or not. As for if there's any events soon, we're not invited to anything yet, but clearly it's going to be one of Sony's bigger games next year. The first part of the year. So, expect something on it pretty soon. They should start blowing it out as soon as Ratchet and Uncharted's out of the way. Landfill wants to know if he imports, or maybe she, I don't know who, whatever.
Dirty.
Wants to know if you import a DualShock 3 controller, will it work out of the box?
Yeah, it should. There should be absolutely no reason why it shouldn't. I mean, it's just hardware.
Yeah,
and all
it's
you're
hard
doing is
to
plugging
say,
it into
but
a USB port. I seriously doubt that they're going to have region-specific hardware on it.
That is true, except that games need the update to use it.
Right.
So any game that already supports it, such as the Gran Turismo Prologue demo, it already works with there. Games that are going to support it in the future, things like Resistance or Warhawk or whatever, which have been announced to add support later, won't do it yet because you don't have the update for it. But as soon as those are out, it'll work. But yeah, you can just import the controller; it'll just work. You don't need to do anything screwy or whatever.
But you might want to check your importer now because there are already lines for it.
Oh yeah,
so.
Very correct. HB Guy 311 wants to know why Sony still refuses to include component cables with the system. Many people are using the composite cables that came with the PS3 and have no clue they need to buy separate cables to fully use the PS3. Ryan, what say you?
I say that you can actually go online and find like an HDMI cable for like $5.
But some people don't have TVs that support HDMI though.
or component.
Burn.
It basically what? That wasn't even a burn at all.
Well, but here's the main point of the question, though, is that
Why are they doing it?
Why are they not including it? Because some people don't realize that you need to use it in order to get HD, so they're just running on
Right. Well, that's why I'm saying that it would be so easy if they included it. They could say that as part of their selling point, and by the way, you don't have to spend an extra $30-$40 and go out and get it's just right in the box. I'm just saying that if they included the HDMI, that would be a step up from what 360 was doing, so they would have a head start there. But
nice, but never going to happen. I think part of that's just because one,
you can make a lot of money.
You will always make more money on just getting additional parts. Two, just getting the regular ones are just bargain basement cheap. I mean, you can hit
Plus,
up Radio Shack. I
remember when they first came out, they included in their marketing campaign of, hey, anyone can play this, no matter if you have the best TV or the worst TV.
Yeah,
you
so
can
throw in some composite too. Composites are cheap.
Yeah, and I'll give you another reason also. Since the PS3 component cables are the same as the PS2 component cables,
some people already have them.
Some people already have them, and I think Sony wanted to save as much money as possible because they're already losing money on an incredibly expensive system. They saved money on the packaging, and then consumers didn't feel like they were paying again for something that they already had.
Mm-hmm.
So
true.
I guess kind of benefited both parts.
Yeah.
Anyway, Andrew wants to know if we could find out if there will definitely be an All-Pro Football 2K9. We'll find out when football season comes around again.
As of right now, from what I've been hearing, it's about 50-50 because that game did not sell very well. And so a lot of them are still trying to figure out...
But it had the juice.
Even if it had the juice, and the juice was in a stadium with people stabbing people...
That's just crazy coincidence.
That's just nuts.
Awesome.
Let's see here. DeAndre in San Diego wants to know, now that Capcom is bringing back Bionic Commando, do you think there will be a day when we see a Karnov remake? I have to say that I hope so, solely so that they can redo the ending, and it does not say congratulations, you win anymore, and kick it back to the title screen, because that pissed me off.
Keep it real, 619?
Yeah. Jason Anderson, Mr. Anderson, wants to know... He's going on a plane trip that will last roughly 5 hours each way, and is looking for a PSP game that doesn't involve numbing use of the controls that he can get in over 10 hours into on the flight time. So he's looking for things like an action-adventure, first-person shooter RPG. He just wants to know what a game that plays, I guess, in not his words, but simply on the PSP, so you're not cramped with the controls. And
Field Commander.
10 hours. Field Commander?
Field Commander is pretty good. I mean, that's just strategy, but I mean, not very taxing controls, but you can get multiple hours in on that one.
What about Jeanne d'Arc? That's supposed to be...
Jeanne d'Arc?
You really liked that.
Yeah, Jeanne d'Arc, definitely. Final Fantasy War of the Lions.
Suck it up and play Monster Hunter 2.
Suck it up.
Yeah, you're going to cramp your fingers. Big deal. Just do it. You jerk.
Portable Ops.
Ooh, Portable Ops. I love me some Portable Ops.
There you go.
Nice. Habanero.
NG would like to know why there hasn't been a mailbag in 3 weeks.
They're dead. No more mailbags.
Mailbag is dead.
But
so submit your questions here. We'll answer them like we are right now.
We are updating our blogs more often, though, or we will try to anyway, as payment for you guys.
Yes.
I'm not answering your questions in my blogs.
Yeah. There you go.
Well,
Christian would like to know if we think that there will be a Star Wars Battlefront 3. The answer is... There is no way that there's not going to be a Star Wars Battlefront 3 because it is the best-selling Star Wars game that a LucasArts ever made. So even though it's not official yet, you can bet
your bottom dollar.
Yeah, they're not going to turn down free money, basically. Marcus wants to know if anybody knows for sure if you'll be able to play Guitar Hero 1, 2, and 80s Edition on the PS3 with Guitar Hero 3 controller for the PS3. The answer is nobody knows yet. So here's the thing: is from what I remember, if you tried to ever play Guitar Hero with the controller, the standard Dualshock 2, which is really stupid, it used the shoulder buttons as buttons, and then it was like L1, L2, R1, R2, and then X, I think. And Guitar Hero 3 or Rock Band and Guitar Hero on Guitar Hero 2, and supposedly Guitar Hero 3 on the 360 uses all the face buttons. So if they keep that sort of thing going on, then that means Guitar Hero 3 on the PS3 will be using different buttons than Guitar Hero 1 and 2, and it won't work. But we can't test it yet. I'm going to guess that it won't, but we're not sure.
I see.
We're supposed to be getting the game soon because it comes out on Sunday. So we'll find out. Maybe today.
Let's hope.
Follow up to that. So you're talking about playing with the Dualshock or with the 6-axis, right? Now you can play with the guitar, right? The Guitar Hero 3 guitar, you can be able to play the other guitar.
That's what he means.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
We don't know yet.
Just making sure.
We'll have to.
I got confused.
We don't know what the button assignments are going to be. If the buttons are the same as they were on Guitar Hero 1 and 2, then it should work perfectly fine. And if not, then no. Beast786 would like to know, how come our final review scores are not always usually not, the average of the subcategories? He's wondering how some of the subcategories, or almost all of them, can be lower than the final score, and why is that the case, especially with something like Eye of Judgment?
It's a sum of its parts kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You can have awesome, graphics, but if it's not fun to play, why would I, average that out? Mm-hmm. There's a bunch of little parts there. Presentation, that's all. That's all nice, but that's just icing on the cake. If the cake sucks,
like if the story is incredible, but the way that you play it is just completely crap, then then you're not going to have a fun time, and it's not even going to be worth it.
Also looking for the other way around. So if you give a game 8s across the board, and then it finds up with an 8.3 or something, I'll tell you one reason for this is that our sub scores only go at 8.0 to 8.5. And so sometimes you can't give gameplay at 8.3, and so
you have to give it one of those halves, 0.5 scale.
And at the same time, it's also it's sometimes the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, just like Greg said. So sometimes you'll say all this stuff is good, but overall the game is great because all these parts came together really well. So there you go. Georgia Lee Wheeler.
That's a good name.
Yeah, that's a good name.
Georgia Rule. Anybody see that? Moves the Low Man.
Oh,
Jane Fonda.
Yeah, sure. So Georgia Lee would like to know if there's a way to hook up a PSP to a TV and what equipment you need to have. The answer is you need to buy a new PSP Slim because that you can buy component cables and then hook it right up to your TV.
Yay!
Although it only outputs in progressive scan, so you can watch videos and all that other crap on interlace, but not games. You have to put it on progressive scan. So hopefully you have an HD TV. So that is all the reader mail for this week. One of the people wrote in and said, "Why do we keep answering mails from the same people?"
Because they submit.
Frequently.
They submit, but do note that we didn't read an email from Iamakin
or Renegade
Squadron
or
Stay on Target
or Rogue Leader.
Stay on Target.
Rogue Leader. And,
that's who I was thinking.
Renegades. Somebody's going to make a board name Renegade Squadron. But. So that is all. Any last thoughts or comments you guys want to make?
Pick of the week. Don't we have to pick of the week?
Oh, yeah.
Pick of the week.
What is our pick of the week? Pick something.
Whoa. I don't know what's coming out this week. Oh.
Castlevania. Dracula X Chronicles.
There you go. That actually, that's it. There you go.
Awesome.
I'm reviewing it very soon.
You giving it a good score?
From what I've played, the game's awesome. I'm not going to say the game's awesome, then it gets it.
4. Yeah, I played the first 2 or 3 levels. I like that.
Oh God, they were so high on it on the podcast. 2.6.
Yeah. It's a cool game.
That game's good. All right, so so now I guess we're done. So, Greg, you want to lead us out with a song?
Take us out.
I do. I want to thank all the Podcast Beyond listeners who wrote into me and sent me Xbox Live messages wishing me a happy wedding, and a special props to Craig, who called me at work to wish me a happy wedding. not Craig Harris, ladies and gentlemen. Craig from St. Louis. A nice Beyond fan. Anyways, today's song is dedicated to Jeremy Dunham, of course, who is ill today and cannot be with us. It's The General by Dispatch. Anybody?
No.
All right. I had never heard this until it was on Patrick Noonan's CD, so thank you, Patrick Noonan. There was... and by the way, you never do the outro here, so just when I start, I'll start, and then you can just... All right, cool.
I got you.
All right, let's do it again. There was a decorated Dunham with the heart of gold that likened him to all the stories he told of past RTSs won and lost and Xbox games of old. But on the eve of a great podcast with the PlayStation team in place, the host tossed in his sleep and wrestled with a cold. And Dunham decided to stay home. He said, "I have caught the sniffles, and I have discovered that this podcast is not worth doing. So, take your PSPs and shine your screens. You've got no time to lose. You are the editors, you must be playing. Go now, I have the sniffles."
All right, we'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.
Never heard that song, anybody? Huh?
No.
It's good.